Welcome to the Powderhorn Podcast, part of the Okayest Podcast Network, where host Jared Gomez covers everything that goes bang. From grandpa's lever action to cutting-edge tactical gear, this is your go-to for sharpening skills, building confidence, and geeking out on the rich past and bold future of shooting sports.
I feel like every time I start a podcast, Tim, it's what do we do? What do we say to bring the people into the episode?
No matter what we say, intro or outro, we always mess it up. It might not reflect on the podcast. We cut it down, but every time we mess it up.
It's so bad. But this is the Powderhorn Podcast, brought to you by the guys at OKShooter.com. I am Jared, a.k.a. the Okayest Shooter, and I am joined bi-weekly, every Sunday gun day, with my co-host, Tim. Tim, tell people who you are and where to find you.
I'm Tim. You can find me on Instagram at the Okayest Tim.
And this week, we have brought on, he's a pest. He is legitimately a pest. We have PeabodyGoPew, and
a pest, our first guest.
He is our first guest. Actually, yeah,
he is.
We are so bad at podcasting. All of our guests are like, I don't want to do it.
They listen to it and they're like, I don't know if I want to get roped into this.
These guys, they towed the line. We are habitual offenders of so many things. So, PeabodyGoPew, tell people who you are. Give them a brief intro. And why would you hang out with us?
My name's Omari Perryman. PeabodyGoPew obviously is the handle I go by on Instagram. I am a competitive shooter who is still relatively green in his journey. This July will crest 2 years for me. I pestered Jared with an abundance of Mac content as I progressed through my journey, and well, here we are.
So Mac content. Let's kind of peel that banana back a little bit. And so, competitive shooter, what are you shooting?
Right now, I started primarily with IDPA. IDPA was just an abundance of it around me. I was still relatively new, and that was what got my foot in the door. After doing that for a few months, somebody mentioned USPSA, and I got a taste of that, and it quickly just became when you're new at something, you just want to do every aspect of it. So anything that could put a gun in my hand, I was doing.
I think one of the coolest things about competitive shooting, and there's so many layers to it, is you're throwing out these acronyms: IDPA, USPSA, but when people think about competitive shooting, guys, there are so many facets to it, whether or not you're shooting handguns, rifles, or even shotguns. Tim, what's some competitive shooting disciplines that you're familiar with?
None. I'm in no way, shape, or form a competitive shooter.
Not a single one.
No, I mean, I'll shoot sporting clays, trap, skeet. It's all for fun. Ask me to compete, count me out.
There you go. Like, so with shotguns, you can shoot trap, you can shoot skeet, and those they're throwing clay pigeons through the air, and whether or not you're stationary or you're moving around from station to station like a golf course, there's a lot of different things. So Omari, the two disciplines you're talking about, USPSA, there's too many letters.
I heard YMCA.
So break down those two disciplines for someone that may not be familiar with them, just what
like
they are and kind of what the premises of them and what the tools are that you use to do this.
Okay, so IDPA is more of a defensive practical shooting, whereas USPSA is more of a just practical shooting in a sense. It's not defensively oriented.
Okay, so if you're doing the defensive one, are there people throwing stuff at you?
I mean, in theory, they should be, but they haven't allowed for that. We just get the painted targets that look like this. That say, "Hey, don't shoot."
So you're shooting people with their hands in the air.
Yeah, don't shoot this target. So
I don't
that's
think
about it.
I don't think that's no, I don't think that's a sport we should be promoting. So IDPA and USPSA. So what does IDPA stand for?
So I think that's the International Defensive Pistol or Association or something of that magnitude. I
You
haven't really.
you are the epitome of an okay shooter if you're competing in something and you don't know what the acronym stands for. You're just like, I'm showing up for it.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where it was like there's so much like like you said, different layers to peel back with the rules, which we can get into those a little bit here. But it was like the acronym didn't so much matter to me as much as long as I know what to do when I show up. That's what I was concerned with. So
I'd say
yeah,
that's
but
important.
yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's the International Defensive Pistol Association, and like I said, they have some, I guess, weird theories or ideas behind the practical aspect of it, like the fishing vest, for instance, which I'm sure you might have heard of.
We're going to get to that, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say our first guest talking about competitive shooting that does not know the acronym for the sport, Tim, is the worst guest we could.
I can't talk. You could have asked me. I would have said like IDPA, International Defensive Pancakes Association.
Yeah, see, I was right. It's the Pistol Association right there on the
He's
card.
got,
He's got a card. He had a
he's got a
cheat
cue
sheet.
card, and he's like, well, I think it stands for international. It could be international. Like, so,
That's what it is.
so, all right. So IDPA and USPSA.
Yeah.
Again, that's too many letters, man. I can't do this. I can't do
You
this.
see, I struggle with all the letters. That's that's more than my brain can process at most times. And then they've got all the divisions, with the acronyms for those and stuff like that. So I just picked the lane and I just got
You
in there
just
and I just shoot.
So how many guns do you show up with if you don't even know what's going on? Do you just have like a golf bag and you're like
Funny enough,
he
I
does.
actually so when I started, I was showing with this cart and I had a backpack and it had the gun that I thought I was going to shoot for the day, a backup gun, and a backup gun to that backup gun. And then, just a plethora of other things. And it slowly became to the point that it was like my old man, like, he'll show up to a match or two. He's like, Bud, you really got to consolidate and stop carrying so much stuff. So
The
I don't
fact
do that anymore. Just two.
the fact that you said plethora and backpack guns in the same statement is just
I
yeah,
can't
man.
talk again. I've got backpacks with guns in them.
It's like, all right, so if you're tuning into the OK Shooter and the Powderhorn podcast for the first time, plethora of backpack guns is acceptable.
Can never have too many. Let's just be clear.
It's wild. So IDPA, USPSA, competitive shooting. How old are you, man?
I am 32.
God
32.
dang, you're old, man.
I had to think about that for a second. Yeah,
Tim, how
I'm
old are you?
getting old.
I'm 24.
God dang kids. God dang kids. So
Wait a minute, Jahred. How old are you?
I really don't know. I think I'm going to be 43 this year, 44. I really kind of lost track of time.
You stop counting.
It just gets away from you. Like it gets
Yeah.
away from you. So I think as a competitive shooter, are you sponsored by anyone? How do you pay for all of this? How do you get into it? Because me, I've raced go-karts. I've done a little bit of competitive shooting, but how does someone in their mid-30s pay for a hobby that requires guns and ammunition? Because Tim, ammunition's pretty darn expensive, isn't it?
It's getting up there. I would not want to go burn off a couple thousand rounds right now.
So how do you do this, man?
So ammo is definitely pricey, especially when you're trying to shoot 250 to 500 rounds a week. It can really get pricey. Well, I'm a service technician by trade. I work for a beverage company, which I travel all over and service equipment. They take care of me pretty all right. But in the sense of how do you get started, what it takes. Well, when I first started, all I had was, my P10C, the red dot that I needed, and I think 3 extra magazines. I hopped on Amazon. I found the cheapest mag pouches that I could find that would work.
I'm going to
Bought them. I
stop
think they
you
were.
right there. I feel like everything you say is an acronym. What the heck is a P10C? What is that?
Oh,
Is that
I'm sorry.
is that a
It's
flux
a CZ.
capacitor?
It's
Like
a CZ. It's a CZ. It's a P10C. It's a polymer frame, compact size handgun. Can I show it to you?
yeah. I mean, I go ahead. I mean, I'd like to see it because I have no idea. I feel you're a beverage technician. You're like, I have a P10C, and I'm like, man, what is this? An air filter? Like, what's this guy
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah, just this
All
little
right.
guy. So something about Glock 19 size, So I threw a red dot on that, and I just went out there. The old guys, they were super welcoming. Um, I shot, just so that we're clear, I want this on to be documented. I shot every non-threat hostage target that was available to shoot my first
So
competition.
everyone that didn't have their hands in the air, you were like, not
No,
you.
I shot those ones too, but I also shot everyone with the hand in the air, like, the black paint on it says "Don't shoot me." Yeah,
Yeah,
can't
I
have a
would.
hostage situation without a
Yeah.
hostage.
No, I've seen Men in Black. Will Smith shot everyone. like,
It's like those posts. It's like you got the hostage targets with like the
yeah.
dude holding the gun to the chick's head on the
Yeah,
paper, and it's like they just shoot yeah. Anyway,
yeah,
Why
I
did you
shot them
shoot the
all.
hostage? Because Keanu Reeves told me to. Like,
Yeah, because John Wick, you got to do it for the gram, it's just shooting.
welcome to the OK Shooter. We teach you how to handle hostage situations. Just
you
shoot
do
everybody.
not shoot the hostage. But
Yeah, don't do a Peabody.
that's what we're gonna
Don't do
call
a
it from here on
Peabody.
out. So, I don't know. There's a lot of people that think you have to be like expert, a grandmaster, and I love shooting because we call them grandmasters. like, like
Well, they're pretty good in application.
no,
So,
they're really good, but just saying it out loud, it's like, who are you? Well,
hey, I'm a
I'm okay as
grandmaster.
shooter. I'm a grandmaster in
That's also the title
USPSA.
for chess, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah,
chess is the same
chess
way.
grandmaster. Yeah.
So to hear it,
yeah.
so I guess like what's the biggest thing you won? Like how's it been? Are you like the I don't know, the junior champion of the C League, or
Well, fortunately there's classes for everybody. So, you don't have to be the best shooter out there to feel like you can go out there and compete
that's good.
within your skill set. So, I think they're from C class to all the way up to, so I believe it's unranked, and then you have novice, and then sharpshooter, then you would progress, or no, yeah, sharpshooter, then to marksman, then to expert, and then master for IDPA. And then once you get to master, the only title you can gain above that is distinguished master, in which you have to, go to nationals and I believe either win your division or be within a certain percent of the winner.
So to progress, you just have to kind of score enough points at a match, or and are they locals, like city, state, local, regional, national? Like how do people that don't know how this works get into it? Like, so if me and Tim, we're gonna go do this, honestly, there'd have to be like beer at the end of it for me to go. But
Not
A
before.
lot of guys will locally, do barbecues and cookouts and stuff after the
okay,
fact.
all
So,
right.
Well, that's good
but
though.
for
It's a
somebody,
community thing, right? You guys get
absolutely.
together, you do what you love, you enjoy each other's company afterwards. Talk shop. You know.
Absolutely. One of
Okay.
the clubs that I do go to, which, I'll explain more in a moment, but his wife, she makes baked goods every match, and she ensures that we
I'm
all
in.
leave with baked goods every time we shoot over there. So that's just an aspect of the community side of it, that you had mentioned. In regards to how the average person gets into it, I mean, most there there's clubs everywhere, but you can hop onto the IDPA website, or even Practice Score. They have a website as well. And when you get on there, you can search for IDPA matches or the clubs that will host those style of matches. Now, typically there's a lot of clubs that do support stuff like that. So it's just a matter of knowing what clubs are around you and what they have available and when.
Nice.
From that point, it's just a matter of looking over the appendixes and making sure that your equipment and stuff is within compliance. Most of the times at locals, guys aren't going to care what your equipment is. As long as you have a proper holster that, retains the firearm and covers your trigger guard and is not unsafe by any means, as well as some mag pouches and a belt, they could care less about anything else. They just want to welcome you in and get you shooting.
So I was kind of gonna fall into that. So take someone like me, for example. I know guns, I shoot guns, I enjoy guns, but competition shooting on that level is like, I guess I haven't even thought about doing it. So say I get my little rolling cart with my 3 guns and I show up, like what was the acceptance? Like, you have no clue what you're doing in theory. You might have read a little bit about it online. Like, how was it like the first time? Were they receptive to a new person coming in, for someone that hasn't done it?
Dude, it was amazing. And if I could do it again, I 110% would. The reception it was something that you really can't describe other than as amazing, because at every point, from the best guy there to the guy that may have seemed the slowest, they were all offering advice. I mean, at one point, I think I even had one match where I didn't prep and bring enough ammo. I had guys offering me ammo and magazines. And
Nice.
yeah, I think I had one of my striker pin broke on my P10F at a match, and I had a gentleman bring his gun to offer me to shoot. And fortunately, like I mentioned earlier, I had a plethora of guns in my backpack, so I just grabbed another one. But um,
That's still awesome, though.
So instead of
yeah,
grabbing another gun, you're like, yeah, go ahead and fix my broken one. Like,
right. Right, I mean, it's been to the point that I've had a gentleman, break my gun down completely apart, wipe it down, and re-oil it, and give it back to me, and said, it should run a lot smoother now. So, yeah, they're very receptive and welcoming, and it's something that does warm your heart in the sense of our 2A community, because it's very nerve-wracking to try something new when you're really clueless, like you mentioned. And I'm a very anxious person, so I get deterred very easily.
be,
But
Beyond the equipment, that's something I want to touch on later because the equipment is part of it, but we're men. The stigma of being a man and just going and trying something for the first time, and there's no
yeah,
support group. I mean, my wife loves me, but she's not going to go to a shooting event with me because it's just not her thing. So we'll go back to that. But the equipment part of it is cool, and to hear the community outreach and say that, and me and Tim working in the industry full time, gun companies and gun people aren't always the most like, oh yeah, like you have a I don't know, whatever AOL launch code gun you were talking about, a CZ-151A1 bomber. I don't know that, but you showing up and people being like that, like your equipment may not be the great thing. And I think Tim, I think it says a lot about the gun community. You may not have the best equipment, you may not have the right equipment, but if people are willing to bring you into the fold, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that because I was genuinely interested. I've seen like very little bits of it, like USPSA target stuff. Like the fact that it's still accepting even when you get into a competition level is huge because I mean I could tell you without knowing that I'd be like, man, I'm gonna walk up here, I'm gonna get grilled for my equipment. They're gonna make fun of me because I'm shooting hostage targets. Like I wouldn't want to do that. And I guess you could kind of like compare that to like a first time gun buyer, even like we've talked about before. It's like, you go into a shop and you're like, I don't know anything, but they're willing to help you learn and get the right thing for you. I love that when it comes to the competition shooting that there's a similarity there.
dude,
Um,
it genuinely was amazing. And I can even tell you this, even now at this point, as I told you before, I'm very anxious and I get nervous when I go to clubs that I haven't been to before, for many reasons. But it's been to the point that, even after I've shot and people are like, okay, well, he's not a complete bot or a potato, so to speak. I've had guys come up and still offer like, hey, I noticed that, you're dropping your gun a lot between positions and you're covering the space quick enough to where you don't need to do that. So don't. So even at this level, it's like people are still so welcoming and still offer the absolute most at these events.
It's I think anytime you go somewhere and there's people like that, it makes it so much better because you're not at the level of competition, and I'm sure if you're a grandmaster and Smith and Wesson or Sig is bankrolling your tournament, those guys probably aren't over there at the shooting line like, hey Omari, like maybe don't wear a Got Pancakes t-shirt, like. But
I do.
the fact that I'll call them journeyman shooters, I think that's the term I would use. Your novice, the guys that are the weekend warriors, the guys that they know they're never going to be a world champion, but they're out there having fun, and maybe they have that one match that puts them over that cusp, and they become great. I hope they keep that there, and I've seen that happen in a lot of different things that I've done in my life, and I think it's cool. So the fact that people are willing to coach you and guide you and give you those tips versus sabotage you because they're trying to like outplace you is really cool.
Yes. And it's funny because, the last USPSA match that I shot was Thurmont USPSA. And, I met this gentleman. He shoots open. He's a grandmaster. He's really proficient. And, he went as far as, to break down his stage plans and why he chose to run it like that. And even went to the extent of saying, hey, well, you may not, have as much strength in this area as me, so maybe make a slight adjustment in this spot here. And he's literally telling me exactly how he intends on doing it, even though we're competing. So yeah, it's a great experience.
So, you're not 20 years old, you're not 60 years old. What like kind of like was like, I don't know, you woke up one day and you're like, I want to be a competition shooter. What
Well,
was the first step? What was the first step like?
the first step was me becoming like, so I've never really had or been, well, I've been around firearms from the time I was young. I live in central Pennsylvania. It's very rural. It's a lot of hunting and, guns are a big part of, my community here. But in regards to handguns, it's not, it was never something that I really, got to experience on my own outside the, little 22s here and there. So yeah, I think it was like 2021 or 2022. I bought my first handgun and it just kind of turned into a plague. I ended up, I think I had four handguns within 3 months of buying my first one. And
That tends to happen.
yeah, and it just kind of slowly progressed from there where, you get the bug. Once you get the gun, you're looking at, oh, I can change this, I can change that. And, I started as a Reddit warrior, and that's where I actually stumbled upon competitive shooting and Nils Jonasson, because I was in the Canic group. Well, I hopped over, started looking at Nils's page, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. That looks like something that I would truly enjoy. And from there, it was just, I actually procrastinated on it quite a bit from that point because it wasn't until 2023 that I actually started shooting competitively. And the way it took place was just weird. I showed up to the club one day to sight one of my guns in, and there was another kid there, and he was like, "Are you coming to the match this weekend?" I said, "Not, I don't even know what you're talking about." And he was like, "Oh, well, this is what it is." And like I said, I just showed up and it went from there.
I might have to try it now, just for shigs and giggles.
You can't do any worse than I did my first time.
I bet you I could.
I think we all could. I don't know. You try something for the first time, and So, Omari, what was the first gun that you ever bought?
The first gun that I ever bought was, let's see if I have it. This guy
Oh,
right
I love
here.
how he's reaching up.
Yeah, he's like, I still got it. Like,
And this guy right here.
look at this guy. He's
So,
like, I still got it.
A
Like,
VP9?
yeah, no, it's actually a HK VP9. Yeah, it was the
yeah.
first gun that I ever bought.
I love it. That was
Yeah.
the first handgun I bought.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
God dang.
Yeah, legitimately.
That's gnarly.
VP9 Tactical. Yep.
Yeah, and it just from that, nostalgic value of it being my first firearm, like I'll never get rid of it. But yeah, I sadly this thing probably has less than 300 rounds on it.
I got rid of mine.
We
Oh,
we
yeah.
we talked about our first guns on previous episodes, and so it's like something we always talk or ask people.
Yeah.
Ask our guests that hopefully we have more guests after this. That what's your first gun, and do you still own it? Because I don't own my first gun, although I went back and bought a close replica. So an HK VP9. So why
Yeah.
don't you shoot that in competition?
Uh, well, I was actually terrible at shooting it, for being honest. So, iron sights. I'm. There's something that I'm still working on. Like I told you, I was still relatively new to shooting. So, there was iron sights that I felt like I could shoot, and iron sights that I couldn't shoot when I was still learning. And HKs were some that I couldn't shoot for whatever reason.
That's years ago. I took a class in Camden, Tennessee, and it was like every car has a steering wheel. So if you're saying a steering wheel feels weird to you, you couldn't drive a Toyota Camry versus a Ford F-150. Still got the same
Right.
steering wheel. You just got to hold it down the center.
Well, it was like, I think what it was, a lot of it was just the sight picture for me. Like I didn't know how to properly align iron sights like with what I really wanted to hit. And then you throw in jacking the trigger and everything else that I possibly was doing wrong. It was just,
Yeah.
it wasn't working for me.
That's one of those things where it's iron sights and even optics. If you had an off the topic, off camera conversation with me about optics.
Yes.
I'm very
That was
passionate.
hilarious.
I'm
That
very
was hilarious.
passionate about no optics. But so Tim, you had an HK VP9. Did you feel the same way?
I mean, I can agree. For a while there, I was like, I need an optic. I'm horrible with iron sights, and I think a lot of it was, especially on the like being new to handgun shooting, I just probably wasn't using it correctly. And then I did end up taking some classes and stuff with some people that knew what they were talking about, because I didn't. When it came to like that defensive pistol stuff, not competition, just general concealed carry class.
Yeah.
And now I have a better understanding of it. So I'm not pro optics. I'm not pro iron sights. I think there's a time and a place for everything.
So when it
Agree
comes
with
to
that.
the VP9, could you think you could make it work today? Knowing what you know now, says the guy wearing a Pancakes t-shirt. So
I think I could at least hit, a steel plate now versus then.
I think if I went back to my first handgun, I don't know if I could. I mean, I own one now. I bought one just so I could get back in the mix, but I don't think I could. I don't think I could carry it. I don't think I could, whether it was shooting, cardboard with its hands up in the air. I think I could do that pretty well.
I was looking to see if I had any. I don't.
Like
Did
I
you
almost want to
close
sell
out?
that on okayashooter.com, just like the innocent bystander, but it's winking at you like I'm giving up, but am I?
Dude, you literally have to do that now. Just take the non-threat, the silhouette, and just
Yeah.
add a little winky eye.
And
hit
put,
is a
like,
hit.
just put like an
Don't shoot.
outline of a gun in its waistband. Like, am I really a bad guy? Like,
You never know.
yeah.
That would be sweet.
Just shoot the hostage. That'll be an okay a shooter t-shirt. Tim, shoot the hostage always.
Yeah.
And then
I'll
on
rock
the
The
that
back
hostage.
always.
That
So,
is-
wow.
wow.
Dang.
It's your fault you got taken, not mine.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, one of the accounts, since you laughing at the Pancake shirt, I got one today that says Jellyfish Cafe on it, so that was cool.
That's yeah, man. Oh man, I wish, a lot of people think you work in the gun industry all the time. And they're like, oh, you get cool stuff. No, we don't get nothing cool. I don't have really. That's a pretty cool t-shirt.
Personality, I love that. I
No.
love that.
Oh, if you would have been a part of that, it was one of the worst days of my life in the gun industry. Like, I thought I was gonna get dragged out of NRA one year because of that.
Oh my goodness.
No,
They're like,
it's
these are
bad.
for consumers only, and I'm like, no, they aren't. I'm taking some of these.
Yeah, we're
This is mine now.
I would have did the same thing. Can't lie. That is an awesome shirt.
Do we want to get into the equipment thing? Because I've got a question. It's kind of, or it pertains around this shirt. So, I mean, obviously you got the guys that are experienced, and I'm assuming some of those high level shooters are probably running, like staccatos and custom builds. And obviously you came from a CZ P10C, which apparently Jahred has no clue what that is.
None.
So, you talked about going on Amazon and just buying whatever you found. If you were going to do it again and maybe took a little bit more time and didn't just jump into it, maybe, you said you dug on Reddit and you're like, this is cool. So if you're going to make a suggestion that somebody wanted to get into it, like, what level of gun do you have to start to get into it? Or what would you have done differently? And same with your gear to go with it. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that does. With the gun, I don't think the gun matters so much unless like you have a specific goal in mind with the competitive shooting. And I say that because in the sense of doing it, you're going to want what you feel most comfortable shooting, what feels, natural to you, something that you enjoy shooting as well. You know what I mean? But then in the same sense, once you get into the game, like a lot of guys think that you can buy performance. Now, just like anything else, I'm sure, there's levels to it and there's things that you can obtain through, spending a little more money, but it isn't always necessary. I still believe that, training and working hard at something, no matter what it is that you have, will always net the best results. So what I truly, and I've recommended it to a few buddies recently, even, because they see me shooting my Mac and stuff like that. And, oh, I want a 2011 now too. And I simply ask them like, why, like, are you looking to pursue something in this and this is a platform that you want to start on and learn because it feels natural to you? Or are you just doing it because you think that's what the fastest guys have to shoot? And depending on how they answer that, that's how I direct them. One of my friends actually shoots a VP9 and a Canon, and I told him, like, for the time being, like, you're still learning, just shoot what you have, see what you like, figure it out. Equipment, sorry, I didn't touch on that. As far as the equipment goes, what I would have done differently maybe than what I did the first go around is buy once, cry once. And you see me looking around here, I'm just kind of gazing because I have belts with mag pouches and stuff that I don't even use, because they were things that I bought thinking, okay, this seems like it might work. And it did, but it something worked a little better, and it's like versus what I spent with all the trial and error stuff, it was like you could have just bought some reputable pouches at a reasonable price and just, sucked it up the first go around. And a lot of it too was impatience and availability because, within wanting to shoot your match, not having any equipment, stuff like that, it's like I need what can be delivered to my door in 2 days because the match is in 2 days, So that also played a part. But yeah, if I would do it over again, and again, you don't need the fanciest stuff. I mean, these guys here, these are Blade Tech pouches, and I use these for IDPA. Most guys, they swear by their double alphas and things like that. I believe these pouches were only like 20 or 30 bucks. I think maybe 30 bucks.
Blade Tech has been around for so long.
They work great.
They're inside the waistband holster, and me not being a competition guy, I've always been like I don't want to say gunfighter, but like self-defense, type of person. Blade Tech has made some of the best inside the waistband holsters for so long. I'm going to say honestly, it's hard to not steer people into buying equipment before they try it, because we're guilty of it. We get on Reddit, we get on YouTube, we get on Facebook, and we're like, we're going to buy stuff, and then we show up to the shoot and we don't know it's the wrong stuff. And so I'll say this, so Omari, like, the ego part of it, like, I'm a grown man. I gotta research, I gotta read, I gotta learn about the thing that I want to learn about before I go do it. Would you tell people just to be like, hey, go to the range with nothing, like just the intent, the willingness to want to learn, and then go from there? Like, don't buy a gun. and I hate saying that. Like, me as a gun
Yeah,
guy,
don't.
like, don't buy a gun, don't buy a holster, don't buy a belt, don't buy anything. Just comfortable pair of shoes, pair of pants. Go to the range. Would you tell people that?
Yes, I 100% would. And I simply would tell people that just off the premise that I myself, I've done it and I've had multiple other people that have also done it. A person like me, I have probably what, 13 to 16 handguns, right? A little variation of everything, Glock, CZ, SIG, all that.
Those are amateur numbers. You should
Pump those numbers up.
like
I'm still a rookie.
you're not a fanatic yet.
we're only like 3 years in. But for the purpose of, handgun competitive shooting, it's like I have a diverse enough variety that it's like just try them, see what you like. Like if you don't want to spend money yet, like I'm sure there's something within what I have that might tickle your fancy. And just as I say that, there's many of other guys that they just want you to shoot their gun. Like you'll have guys almost begging you, like, "Hey man, you want to try this gun?" Like they're giving you ammo and everything for it. So it's like I would absolutely recommend just show up with the clothes on your back and with the intent, you're always going to succeed in whatever it is that you're hoping to do. So
It's I think that needs to be more normalized about hobbies in general, not just guns, but cars, whatever it may be, grilling. I see people that never smoked a brisket in their life, and they go buy a $900 or $2,000 Traeger, and they still make the shittiest bologna
terrible brisket, yeah.
that anyone could ever make. So it's refreshing to hear that, and that's just me, like spitballing. Like it's there's enough gun people that I think know about guns that could steer you in the right way. Tim, like if someone came up to you and said, "Hey, I want to shoot competition," what would you give them? What would you put in their hand day one?
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, I came from the retail side, so like to kind of chime in on it's kind of like a pair of sneakers. Like everybody's gonna have a different comfort level with different things. So, I mean, I love the VP9. I'd always throw that out. I feel like that could be a good option. I don't really know. I don't know enough about competition shooting.
But there's a gun that you're just like, it feels good in the hand, it shoots well. What's it gonna be?
Yeah, I mean, just going off what I know, like VP9s, I feel like it would be a
VP9?
good full-size gun to start with. Get the optics ready version. I think competition shooting, my head goes like straight to staccato, but I don't think that's realistic for everybody just starting to get into it.
I don't think when people come to me and they're like, I want to shoot a handgun for the first time, staccato, even 1911,
and it's probably not the best option.
Yeah, not even, and even for competition, I'm like, I probably would still go back to a Glock 19 or Glock 17.
Yeah.
Omari's gonna like yell at me now because I just like been bagging on him about his acronyms, and I'll be like, the GSSF is huge. And there are Glock matches all over, and people can shoot them really well, and they can do really cool things with those guns as they need to. And I think I'm going to say the same thing, Tim, like basic gear, a belt, a holster, what would you pick?
I feel like Safariland would probably be like the first place I would look, and that's probably due to the fact that I have a pretty limited knowledge. There's a ton of great holster manufacturers out there. I will be the first to admit I have bought tons of holsters just to try it, and I've gone, nope, not for me. It's like Safariland. I know, more of a duty rig. They're just an easy, pretty well-known option. As far as belts go, I'm probably very illiterate on that side.
Something that I wanted to add, Jahred, that you mentioned earlier that I thought it was a great thing that you said, and I wanted to touch on was you spoke on ego and
Yeah.
leaving your ego at the door and what it's like as, a 31-year-old dude that essentially has no knowledge of something, trying to get started in it. And, I'm very competitive, like extremely competitive, like in that sense. And, even though I am competitive, I'm very much that person that like I understand that if you intend to learn something, that you have to forget everything that you think because when you really don't know something, you don't know. And the only way you can learn is to listen. So,
All right. So Tim, you got your equipment. I got my equipment. So Omari, Tim, if you showed up to a competition, what are you bringing?
Oh yeah, I'm going for that VP9. It's the
VP9.
gun I own. I think for more of a general, like if anybody wanted to do it, I love the adjustable side and back straps. Get an optics cut version. I'm comfortable with the gun. It's ambidextrous, and then as far as like the holster goes, Safariland is probably where I would look. It's just somebody I know that they have a decent range of options. And then I don't know, belts, maybe a 511.
So braided leather belt for Tim, VP9, and like a Solace, Safariland Solace, whatever.
Sure.
Honestly, if I showed
Pretty
up
good.
to a competition, and I'm not a competition shooter, I'm taking a. I'm honestly gonna take like something like a QVO tactical sidecar Glock 19, and I'm gonna shoot that. You know what I mean? So Omari, if we showed up, like me and Tim showed up, and again he's wearing like Jinko jeans, the braided leather belt with the
Birkenstock
VP9
sandals.
assless chaps too, right?
Assless
and a level 2 Safariland holster. What are you gonna tell him?
I'm gonna tell him let her rip, Tater Chip.
Am I shoving mags in my pocket?
Yeah, wherever the mags are, we'll deal with that. But like I'll be honest, man. Like if you've seen some of the stuff that I've seen people show up to matches with, and quite honestly, like we never discriminate. Like I know that it may be subpar equipment or equipment that isn't gonna last per se, but as long as it gets them through the match and gives them that experience while still maintaining like a level of safety,
So you're
run
not
with your
gonna
bro.
roast me, but you're gonna be like, "Hey, man, maybe don't wear sandals and assless chaps to the range."
Nah, I've showed
Okay.
up in my Crocs and 4-wheel drive. You're good.
So me, like, legitimately, Glock 19, simple Kydex holster outside the waistband, and fry me all you want, but no optics. Like, I think optics
It's
are
not
stupid.
friable. It's
I
not
mean,
friable.
I'm just like optics are dumb, and I'll and,
E-
and
e- Even though optics are popular, you'll be so surprised at how many guys still genuinely shoot irons.
So one of the first 3-gun matches I ever shot, which was really cool way back in the day, was Hillside Shooting Sports in Roanoke, Indiana. Really cool facility. If it's still open, I don't really have to get online. But there were guys shooting with like 870, field master guns, like these gorgeous blued guns, and they're just out there having fun. And I think that's the important part of competition shooting for a lot of people. It's just getting out there and having fun.
Yeah.
So, Tim, would you shoot competitively, like on a weekend warrior basis?
If I found myself in a situation where I could go out and do it and try it, honestly, you know what? Why not? Let's give it a shot. No
Yeah,
pun intended. I'm gonna suck at it. I know that.
that's okay.
But hey, try new things, meet new people, enjoy the shooting sports community in another level, in another setting. I'm all for that.
Well, one thing that we haven't touched on too is Steel Challenge. Steel Challenge is also another form of competition shooting, and it's something that I usually recommend to people who are trying to enter that space, and simply because it's like it's the most basic level of gun handling. You don't have to worry about the moving, the reloading, all the
Yeah.
extra nuances, but it still allows you to react to a timer, understand range commands, draw your gun from the holster and fire, and being that it's 5 stationary steel plates, you start on one, stop on one. It's something that just about anybody could do. Like I'd feel confident in taking my 7-year-old daughter to a steel challenge match, giving her 22 and telling her this is the order of engagement that you're to follow and having her do it.
If the listeners don't know, I think if you really look at competition shooting, there are facets and entries into the sport that, I mean, they accommodate anyone, whether you're, I don't want to say unathletic, but there are ways for you to get into the competition shooting sports. And I'll say this about like the high school and I'll even say collegiate shotgun sports. They're super safe. The guys that are shooting like trap, sporting clays, skeet, 5 stand, like my son had a blast with it through his high school career. And honestly, me as a parent, I was like, oh, like I don't have to buy anything other than ammo, and he's not getting wrecked on a football field, which was pretty cool. So it's nice that you bring up Steel Challenge for people that don't want to draw from a holster or, run and gun, I guess is the word I would say it, because I like running and gunning. Like, it's fun. But there's opportunities for people to do competition shooting in a more, I don't know, I guess, easier point of entry. Tim, would you want to run around the range all weekend?
I only run for like free food and away from things.
So good.
Yeah.
I said
I'd
I
try
chase
it.
I chase ice cream trucks and run from the boogeyman, Jared. That's
Yeah.
about it.
Like Tim's like, where's the pancakes at? I gotta get those pancakes.
I'm into the sporting clays where they give you the golf cart and you kind of drive station to station.
Sporting clays is like it's golf for guys that like guns. It's
And I play
fun.
golf too, so I'm
Oh,
not good
gonna
at
have to
it.
give
Well,
that a try.
I'm
No,
better at
sporting
sporting clays
clays
than golf.
is legitimately. It's literally you get in a golf cart, you go to a station, they throw the birds, you shoot them, and then you get back in the golf cart and go.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that out.
So I think even I'll say this about gun owners is we're passionate folk. We're definitely a passionate folk, and one of the things when we talk about the okayest shooters, how we got into guns, and then how we get more people into them. And there are always those people that, hey, Omari, like if you're going to be a competition shooter, you have to be a world champion. What's it like? And I don't mean this in a negative way. What's it like being the weekend warrior, the guy that just shows up every weekend, grinning ear to ear and having fun?
Well, it's honestly awesome, but it comes down to the person as an individual. Like you have to be realistic with yourself, in what you want and what is available. Because just like anything else, you're only gonna get out what you put in. So if you don't have full time to invest, like truly full time to invest, then it's like, okay, well, you can't expect to, just breeze through the ranks. But as somebody like myself, my goal every time that I go out to shoot is to be better than the last time I was out, right? It's a very simple goal, but it still keeps me honest with myself in the fact that, in order to do that, like I have to be fundamentally sound and do the boring things at times. So
So if you're talking to someone that's new to this, or even like me, like I've been in the gun industry for 15 years. Tim's been in the gun industry for a number of years. Like even us, like we're gun professionals. Like I'm not going to be a world champion, but
yeah.
is it okay to just go out and have fun doing it?
Absolutely. I mean, so listen, I just love firearms so much. Even when I go out to these majors, and I've been in very good contention, and one stage, one bad shot ruins a whole match. And it's something that happens that quickly and that easily. And despite that, like I just enjoy shooting so much that it's like it's the territory it comes with. So the fun aspect of it's weird because you have to be able to draw the line. As I mentioned prior, I'm very competitive, but at the same time, you can't let that affect whether or not you have fun, right? Because it's the things that you can control. So if I make this mistake, it's on me. Does that mean I'm not having fun? No, I'm a little disappointed maybe, but the whole process of shooting is what brings me joy. So by the time the next stage comes and the timer goes off, I'm back to grinning from ear to ear because I'm sending shots downrange. So it's that's just how I am with it, and I think that a lot of people may share that same sentiment, but again, I think it varies individual to individual.
Have you ever had a Happy Gilmore moment on the range?
Had a lot of Happy Gilmore moments on the range. You can always expect that at least once a match, I have some kind of really crazy doozy, whether it be, presenting my gun and the mag just falling, or, coming out the holster and there goes my mags again. Um, I've I've shot without my dot. I've just done a lot of really goofy things, and the best thing you can do is just embrace it.
Have you ever kicked a magazine off into the woods? Been like, you stupid magazine, and just punted it off or thrown it?
No, but last year when I shot Valley Forge, I'm pretty sure I scared the shit out of an SO because I came in and I broke a shot too soon. I hit a non-threat, and as he gave me the unload show clear, I just took that moment to just let out the loudest F bomb you probably ever heard. And it startled him, but I didn't get DQ'd or anything like that. I think he realized that I was just mad at myself. But yeah, that was about the closest that we got to punting anything.
That's, I'm going to take that one. It's not a plethora of backpack guns. That's just kind of mediocre at best. Um,
Yeah, but that's the best I got.
it happens. It happens.
I usually try to keep my temper in check.
So Tim, and I'll even ask this Omari, you're a middle-aged man. You got a family, or even Tim, you're single. You're a man. You're alpha male, whatever it may be. How hard is it to go try something new?
I'm
not hard
with
at all.
Omari. I'm like, I'm a little anxious about things, like going out and
Yeah.
trying something new you've never done before. I get that. Time is huge, especially if you work. That's huge. I don't, Amari, have you ever taken like days off from work to go run a competition and went, why am I doing this? Or does it?
Fortunately, my company is awesome, just as well as my support system. My girlfriend, she's amazing. She literally has traveled with me to matches, slept in the truck, just to keep my company down, stuff like that. So she's a trooper, and I'm beyond thankful for her and the support that she offered in that aspect. Um, in regards to what you mentioned there, I I just drew a blank talking about her.
That's a good thing though, right? Like
I
start
say,
talking
God
about her, forget
dang.
everything.
I just literally drew a blank. My mind just went as
Tomorrow's
soon as
You were
I
you were
mentioned
Friday. You
saying
that.
had better take her out to the Sizzler or
no, you were talking about how your company was really good.
yeah.
Oh,
And
yes,
about
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, so no, I actually haven't had to take a day off. A lot of times, like they give me the ability to make my schedule. I actually manage the entire East Coast, multiple states, and I've had it before even to where I just made them aware, hey, I have this match. It starts on, a Friday. This one started on a Friday, so I actually needed to take off, but I had an account that needed service. So I proposed to them, hey, how about I just go shoot my match? When I'm done with my match, I'll just stop on my way home, service the account. They were okay with it. So work hasn't gotten into or become, it hasn't been a problem with the shooting, but at any point that I would need to, they're very, very accommodating.
So I think my bigger question is, being a guy, you may be a father like me, you may be a parent, you may be a husband, a boyfriend, like, you know, we're like I'll never make a living off of shooting competitively. So you're doing it, and I say the journeyman thing, like, how do you justify it? And when you come home at the end of a weekend and you shoot 600 rounds of ammo, you bought $800 worth of gear, how do you sit down on the couch and be like, you know what? Yeah, that was worth it. Like, how do you do that? And
Well,
you shoot a lot. I literally I hope the audience, like, literally PeabodyGoPew on Instagram. This dude shoots a lot. I work in the gun industry and I feel like he shoots more than me. So how do you go home at the end of the weekend and be like, yeah, like I did something worthwhile?
you got to find that balance at a point, and I'm not gonna lie, it took me a minute, but again, with the support system that I mentioned, is they made things easy for me to do. Not only made it easy, but they saw that it was something that I was passionate about in regards to learning and just genuinely wanting to be better. Um, Personally, like I love people, and I love, having conversations with people and getting to know people, things like that. And I truly just, when I came about, I was just hoping that, okay, I could, become better in this space, gain a little bit of reach, and just help people. Like I have so many people that have reached out asking for the way that my Mac is spec'd and what to do and how to do it. And, and I never hesitate to jump and provide them with whatever information I have. So that is the rewarding aspect of it for me, is being able to make an impact and help people. And I hope to, further that to the point where, I'm able to have conversations, like genuine conversations with people, whether you be going through, something in life, what do you just want to learn to shoot, whatever. I think it would be really cool to just be able to have an impact on people in that manner. So,
Tim, if we ever placed last placed in a shooting competition, and then someone asked us about gun advice, would you be as stoked as I would be?
I'd be like, yo,
Like,
I got what you need.
like, like if they're like,
I got the sauce.
if they're like, hey, Jahred, I know who you are in the gun world. I see you got last place in a regional shooting competition. And I was like, yeah, you got to buy this gun. Like tomorrow. Like, do it. Would you sleep okay, Tim? Would you be like...
I would probably just look at them and be like, they're trolling me right now. I'm just gonna walk away.
But you're like, yeah, I came in 97th place in like the Pennsylvania State Open.
But you know what? To that point,
mag.
to that point though, hey, at least you went out and did it. I'd be like, well, what competition did you shoot?
And I would get that. And that's where I think I'm kind of sandbagged in the industry, where I'd be like, yeah, I went to a shooting, like, Omari, one day you invite me up to Pennsylvania, we shoot a match. You get like third place. No one talks to you after the match. And they're like, oh shit, that's okay, a shooter. Like, what gun should we get? And I'd be like, not a CZOP 10 1F3. Like, get the gun I got last place with.
Listen, CZ makes some okay guns. I can't lie. They were one of the first ones that. So when I started in it, like I didn't want to be a Glock boy. I got the HK, and then there was the CZs.
I'm still laughing about it. I'm dying.
We're gonna have to educate Jahred on CZs. But there's one that I know that you would be very much a fan of, and if I told you the story behind how I obtained it, I think you would enjoy it. So this is a CZ75, right? It's stainless.
Is that nickel plated?
No, I don't know what it is. I think it's just stainless. It was from the factory like this, okay? It was discontinued, but the funny story behind that one is I got it for like $500 at an Amish auction.
You should watch U.S. Marshals and get rid of that nickel-plated pimp gun. Get yourself a Glock.
Covered.
Oh my God! Like,
covered.
Tim, I don't even have a gun by me tonight.
I don't either.
I literally have.
I've got a Glock mag that's loaded.
Here, put it in.
Pancake's man has got us beat. Like, holy cow.
Yeah. No, I just yeah. So the CZs just were what I kind of first. That was what I just kind of first got into. But I will admit I haven't shot any CZs. The last CZ that I shot was back in December when I was I had a screw shear in my optic plate. But I've only shot my max since April of last year. I think I have 11,500 rounds on the Gen 1. And yeah. That's all I shoot anymore.
So Omari has been on the show tonight, and he has talked to us about all these shooting organizations with acronyms. Feel free to search them out for yourself and get into it. It's honestly, man, like you're off on another level. I think the takeaways from this episode are: if you want to get into competition shooting, Omari, what do you really need to get into competition shooting?
You just need your gun and some additional mags. I'm telling you, like everybody's willing to help. Even like myself, I have a whole extra rig. If somebody truly wanted to shoot, I have a belt that fits you, like that's already set up. So a lot of times you'll find that there's people that exist like that in this space. So it's just a matter of getting out there, taking that first step, right? That's usually the hardest part. So you take
And
that first step and it usually captivates you because of how well you're received.
so, Tim, being a guy who's never really shot competition, based on the conversation tonight, would you do it? Would you go out there and throw your name into the hat?
Why not? I'll make a fool of myself. Sure.
Yeah, obviously I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to lose. Like,
We won't place 97th. We'll place 96th.
yeah, no shit.
I guarantee you guys would not place last. You'd be at least in the top 50%, especially at like IDPA, because there's no way you're telling me some 60-year-old dude is moving around a course faster than you.
Oh, I was going to put in.
That,
I was going to show up with like a fake mustache and a fake name so I could make them place last and then go as myself.
Shave, let it grow back out, and I would bring back the SHOT Show mustache and just show up and be like,
Cliff, is that you?
Like I would be like, I'm in. So no, guys, if you are on the fence about competing in the firearms space, there are all manner of ways to get into it. Whether it is IDPA, USPSA,
YMCA.
it could be something as the Steel Challenge match. Look at your local shooting range, gun club, shotgun range. It could be sporting clays, trap and ski. It can be anything. But the more you guys get out to the range and you shoot your guns and have a great time, you're going to be like guys like Omari and having a blast. You don't have to be a world champion. You do not even have to be really that good. You just have to go there with a smile and a little, you just got to leave your ego at the parking lot and have fun. So, Omari, has it been fun?
Oh, it's been amazing. It's been rewarding. I still haven't, gotten my first major win yet, but that's all right. We're getting there. I've placed in the top 10 many a times, so it's a work in progress. We'll get it. It's the most fun that I can think that I can have in the sense of competing and not having the immediate success that you necessarily want,
I think, even from a guy like you who's gone full bore into competition, and then you have Tim who grew up hunting. So, Tim, do you think that winning a competition is going to equal the same sense of fulfillment or win like a hunt? Like, you're a duck hunter, you've bagged those birds in the worst of conditions with the worst of equipment. I remember you telling me, like, you lost your shotgun in the marsh. So do you think you guys have something in common?
I could see it. I mean, I know, like, just like I said, I've shot sporting clays, and like that feeling you get when you do really well at anything, I guess you could say, even outside the firearms, when you do something you like and you do well at it, that sense of reward, I could see that going between competition shooting and hunting. I could easily see that.
Nice. So I guess I'll end this on this. And, I haven't asked this question in a while, but so Omari, a gun that you own that you don't want people to know that you enjoy shooting, what is it?
Well, I got rid of all those, so now it's not so much. The one that I own that people, my Taurus TX22, which I got that for the kids.
That's still, man, those shoot really well. So,
Well, you ready? You ready to laugh?
Got it. Oh God, I swear to God, if it's
is it hot pink?
Do you know what this is?
Uh-oh.
I don't shoot this, okay? And you could probably assume why, but yeah, that would probably be the gun that I own presently that I wouldn't want society to know that I have.
Well, they're gonna know it now. I mean, they may not see it because this is a podcast, but we're gonna follow on that.
But if you want to know what it is, you just gotta hop over to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, hop on. Yeah, this will be live there.
Don't tell anybody.
Oh, you gave it up, man.
Telling, like,
you gave it up.
I don't know. There's like 3.5 billion people on the internet.
I'll give a hint. Just don't drop it.
Yeah.
I did. Into the trash. How's that?
You know, when this is over, you're gonna be like, I gotta get that out. I gotta get that out of there.
Oh,
So
good.
Tim, what's the gun you have right now that you're like, no one needs to know? It's my secret.
Ooh.
He's
I
thinking.
like that you're looking at.
I have
like,
a lot.
You
Yeah,
look
like
at like
random
a,
places.
You looked at your mini blind behind you, like there's wood. Mine is I have a staccato.
Ooh, Jahred.
I have
I have a
said one you
staccato in my safe right now, and I don't know how I feel about it. It's
you said it's one
actually-
that you have that you enjoy shooting, but you don't want people to know
yeah,
about.
like you know, you don't want people to know. Like if you invited company over to your house, you're like throwing it under the rug, or you're like, you stash it in the microwave and hope no one makes popcorn.
I don't even
No, you
know. I
gotta-
feel like I have a bunch.
Oh boy.
I guess I just don't have shame in that. I'm just like, you know what? If I have a gun and I like it, I'm with it.
There you go.
I know a lot of people hate on Glocks. I mean, one of my Glocks, maybe I love them. You know, it's
Is
nothing
it a
out of line.
17L?
I don't have it though.
That's
Somebody else might be in possession of it currently for certain
that's
reasons.
horrible. So
Yeah, sure.
all right, guys. So we'll wrap this one up. But thank you for tuning in to the Powderhorn Podcast, where we're just here to tell you guys that being a regular gun owner sometimes is okay. You don't have to be a world champion shooter. You don't have to be the most tactical guy on planet Earth. You just have to enjoy shooting guns. So Omari, you enjoy shooting guns?
I do, and I would love to just publicly state, how much I appreciate you and the SDS, everybody that's been involved, and how thankful I am of you guys and the opportunity even to, be present here. Um, just wanted to make that publicly known, so thank you.
You think
Jahred.
it's a good thing to be on this podcast?
It's on the public record that we're especially after all the things you said early on about CZs.
Hey, I've got a bit of a tism, just so don't take everything I say with.
So Omari, you're out there, you're shooting every weekend at matches. Tell people where they can find you and follow you, in case they just want to be a part of your journey.
Yeah, if you want to check me out, I'm on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all under the same handle, PeabodyGoPew. Yeah, I try to post, videos from perspective of first person and third person, so you see what it's like, me running around, and then you see what I see. But yeah, there's usually a wide variety of content between the different practices that are available to compete in. So, I'm looking to get into, some 2-gun, 3-gun stuff here, start running shotguns and stuff like that more as well. So as we venture in that, we'll have more content of, that kind of stuff too. So,
well, thank you so much for being, really our first official guest here on the Powderhorn Podcast. If you guys want to tune in further, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. The Powderhorn Podcast is part of the OK Shooter. We will release new episodes every other Sunday on, Sunday Gun Day. I think that's what we've come to call it. So, Tim, words of advice. What do you got going on in the gun world in the next week or two? And what are we going to do the rest of this year?
Man, word of advice: don't actually shoot the hostage. If it's a paper target, you're good. But yeah.
If the hands are up, it's a no shoot. Is that what we're
yeah, hands up. Yeah,
So-
it's a no shoot.
But
As
just
far as what
remember-
we got going on, we're gonna be out and about. There's a very good chance you might run into me at a consumer show. I don't know if you're going to Goals in August. I'll probably be there.
That's something we'll kind of bring up in the next episode. So GOA, they have a great show, but there's all sorts of shooting events happening all summer long, guys. find them. Get out to the range, have fun with your friends with guns, as long as they're not CZOPO 701s. Have fun with them. Thank you guys for tuning in. Check us out on the web at okashooter.com. As always, make sure you guys head on over to our sponsors, Moultrie Products, RDR Gear, and Real Avid for all of the things you need to make your next range trip successful. Till next time, guys, I am Jahred, aka OK Shooter, my co-host Tim, and thank you, Omari, PeabodyGoPew. Find us on the web. And, you know, again, hits on the berm are always hits.
And on the hostage, too.
I like it.
So, thank you guys for tuning in. And remember, if you have to shoot the hostage, just don't smile when you do it.